So self-care isn't just about taking breaks. It's about creating a schedule, creating an environment that supports you long term. We're looking to be successful, and part of what we're doing is being consistent. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Thank you for joining me today for another episode of my 100-day walk to consistency. It's a little cooler today, but we're out. Remember, every day that you show up, you are providing more self-confidence, more consistency. You're building a better version of yourself, a more productive version of yourself, and a more self-sustaining version of yourself. Today, we're talking about how do we build a sustainable self-care routine. You're with me here on day number 71. I'll see you on the walk. So over the last several episodes, we've been talking about burnout and talking about sustainable care and self-care. And the truth is that often this is the most overlooked aspect of what we do. There are people who will say to me that they've never called out of their job. They've been on the job for 20, 30 years, and they've never called out sick. There are people who say to me that they are proud that no one in their family can say that they've never been there available for them. And those are badges of honor that we have. But we often do those things at the risk of our own self. And so self-care is important because you can't pour into other people what you don't have to pour, right? So if someone wants some orange juice and I don't have orange juice, then I can't give them orange juice. If someone wants some apple juice, I can't pour into their glass, their cup, what I don't have myself. And so when we take care of ourselves, we are in the process of helping others as well. And I think sometimes we see self-care as selfish and self-care as us not stepping up and doing what we need to do for the people around us. But that is far from the case, because when you're taking care of yourself, you really are also setting yourself up for the best possibility of success. And so what we want to do is we want to talk about how do we set up a self-care routine, a self-care schedule that is sustainable. Often when I shouldn't say often, but I've been in situations where there was something I wanted to do, something that was important for me to do, and I may have gone to a particular meeting, and I remember a group that we wanted to become a part of, and as we were talking to them and decided on the schedule, or finding out about the schedule that they had, I told them, I said, I would love to be part of the group, but I can't do that right now because my schedule doesn't allow me to be here when you want me to be here. And so rather than start that process and be frustrated in the process for them and for me, I decided I wasn't going to do it. And that is one of the concepts I want us to understand, is that when we are setting up things for our health, often we have grand ideas. We have all these amazing ways that we want to show up, and it's great. There's a big plan, and when we think about it, it sounds grandiose. It sounds amazing. But sometimes we build so much into those spaces that we can't sustain them. And so we're going to talk about how do we do something that is sustainable. So back to that example, by the way, where I went to that group. So what we did is we came up with a different schedule, right? So we didn't just abandon it. We came up with a different schedule that worked for them and also that worked for me. But it was important to address that at the beginning so that there's not frustration, because, in our space, when we don't do things the way we said we're going to do them, often we begin to speak negatively about ourselves and to chastise ourselves, and that causes that additional friction, which ultimately leads to us giving up or for us buffering, and so we begin developing other behaviors that are not appropriate. So why is self-care needs to be sustainable. Why does it need to be sustainable? One is for the reason I just said, right? So when we are doing something, we want to be successful. Our body wants to be successful. And so our brain is in the process of putting together a vision of who we are. And so when we start something and we don't complete it, then our brain gets a signal that, okay, that's just who we are. We don't complete things. We start things. How many times have you told yourself, hey, I'm not going to do that because I don't usually complete things? Well, that's a vision, that's a picture that you are creating about yourself. And so now your brain begins trying to find ways to make that true, okay? So what we want to do is we want to start things that are sustainable, things that we can follow through with. So most people, when they talk about self-care, they treat it like an emergency fix. So, man, I'm exhausted, so let me go take a break. Or man, I'm burnt out, so I've got to take some vacation. And what we want to do is we don't want to treat this like the emergency room. We want to treat this like maintenance when we go to our physician, right? We want to be in the process of putting this in place so that it is preventing us from getting to that spot where we are burnt out or we feel like, oh my God, I can't go on anymore. Not in the emergency sense, but we want to make sure that we're doing this in the maintenance and the preventative sense. So most of us, we treat it kind of like an emergency room, that we only rest when we're already burnt out. The goal isn't to recover, right? So we're not in recovery. We're not trying to get you in recovery. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help you prevent burnout in the first place. Does that make sense? So a key point here is that self-care should be a consistent habit, not a last-minute add-in. It's not an add-on. It's not when I have some time left, I'm going to do this. It's not, oh, let me get everything else done, and then if I'm able, I'm going to exercise. Or let me do for everybody else, and then at the end of the day, when I'm totally burnt out, when I'm totally tired, when I'm totally exhausted, then I'll take a moment to journal. At that point, there's not really a big benefit, right? So, and notice I said not a big benefit, not that there's no benefit, because anytime we're taking time is great. But if we're doing this as, okay, this is what's left, then we are running into a problem that it may be difficult for us to deal with, okay? And I'm at a light here that I need to pay, well, part of the road I need to pay attention to as I'm going across the street. So give me a second, let me pay attention to these cars, because they're really not seeing me right here as I'm moving. But all of those things, actually, let me move over this way. So that's why self-care is very, very important. So when we talk about self-care, there are some principles. There are some principles that we want to follow, and a few areas that we will need to pay particular attention to. And these should be added and incorporated into your self-care routine, right? And you know, I like numbers, right? I like words. So pillars may be a good way of thinking of these. But what are the must-have components? When I talk about checking in, when I talk with my team, when I do coaching, I often talk about checking in as it relates to how we're doing physically, mentally, and emotionally. But as we talk about self-care, there is physical self-care that we want to deal with, right? So number one, physical self-care. As we mentioned, the body is the vehicle that takes us to the place that we want to be. It is the thing that takes us to success. Without your body, you can't do anything, right? I hope that makes sense. And so there is some physical there is some physical things that we need to build into our self-care if we are going to be successful. And I am, yeah, there we go. So your body. You want to prioritize sleep. You want to rest. We talked about that. So rest is when your body rejuvenates. It incorporates all the different thoughts from the day. It regulates hormones. It deals with stress. It rebuilds. It fixes damaged parts of itself. It produces testosterone for our men. And when we get good sleep, we are able to decrease our stress. So all those things come when we talk about our physical and when we're getting good rest. We want to move daily. Yeah, this what we're doing right now is amazing. And I'm going to actually turn around so you can see where I am. I'm up on the hill, heading down. Like pretty busy down there, but we'll see what we can do. And where I am is up on the hill. One of the medical practices is right behind me. Anyway, so moving daily. Movement. Move a muscle, change a thought. Move a muscle. And there's so many benefits that we get from simply moving and doing what we need to do to exercise, right? So exercise. When I say exercise, a lot of people think I mean that they've got to go run a marathon, that they've got to go climb mountains, jump off of a cliff, do rock climbing. And when I say exercise, I simply mean moving a muscle. When you are able to do that, right? Because that's what it takes, moving a muscle. So whether you are jogging or walking like we're doing, or you're lifting, or you're doing yoga, or you're stretching, or any of those things, we want to make sure that we're moving on a daily basis. Many times, we don't move because we think we've got to find an hour or 2 hours to go walking a trail or climbing a mountain or any of those things, but that is not the case at all. And often we don't do it because we think we don't have the time. We don't have 30 minutes, but you don't need 30 minutes. All you need is a few minutes to go outside and walk. I tell people, get up, walk to the mailbox and come back. Yeah, that's walking. That's exercising. And so when you do that, you're setting yourself up for the best possibility of success. And that is part of the movement that we talk about, okay? And then you want to make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods. So we've talked about calorie-dense foods, where if you think about food, we can eat something that has, 1,000 calories. That's I don't know, 1 inch by 1 inch, right? So we can eat a candy bar, and that gives us those calories, but it doesn't give us all the nutrients, right? One of the benefits of eating whole foods is that there is bulk to the food, and the bulk causes stretch in our stomach. When that stretch happens, then we send a signal to the brain that we're full, and that helps us to eat less. So there are all these benefits to eating nutrient-dense foods. We get vitamins, we get fiber, we get other minerals that we would not ordinarily get if we're eating those things that are full of calories. So make sure that you're eating nutrient-dense foods and not just calorie-dense. And we're in the shopping center now, so I may adjust my camera depending on who we're running into or if I see people coming, okay? All right, and then, so that's physical. So mental and emotional self-care, very, very, very important. So protecting your mind is important. Your mental well-being determines how you show up. So remember, the body takes us, and our mental well-being is what directs us to where we go. And the emotional is the way that we interpret, the way we see the world, how the world interacts, or how the world affects us. Okay? And so making sure that we're taking care of those is important. So your mental well-being determines how you show up. So limiting negativity is one way to show up in the right way when it comes to our mentation. So one of the things that I find people talk about is that they get very anxious, get very depressed when it comes to watching the news. So, and there are certain shows that we watch. Like there are a couple of shows that I had to stop watching because they caused me endless numbers of moments and times when I am looking at them and being anxious. And so I had to change from looking at those, and it just, my life got much simpler, right? I wasn't spending time and energy on, I didn't spend time and energy on those things because I didn't have to deal with them. And so I just had to change my angle. Some folks are walking by. Okay. So making sure that you are staying away from negativity, make sure you're staying away from negative environments, limiting the negative thoughts that you have, the negative self-talk that you may have, very important. Also, you want to practice mindfulness and meditation. So if the mind is going to guide us, if it's going to direct us on how we show up, then doing a good job of providing it with the best resources to manage and handle stress is very important. And one of the ways of doing that is to be mindful, to make sure that we are in the present, that we are experiencing today, not worrying about tomorrow, that we are emotionally intelligent so that we know how our emotions and other people's emotions interact with us. And so if we're true, if we're present, if we know what's going on with us, we can more easily deal with those things that are coming when other people are in our space or interacting with us. But if we don't understand ourselves, then we really don't know how to interact with other people. Excuse me. And then journaling. Journaling helps you process emotions and help you reduce stress. So we're talking about sustainable routines that we're going to do for our self-care. So mental and emotional, mindfulness, journaling, avoiding negative conversations, negative situations, not watching the news, a particular news that causes you to go crazy, right? Lots of options there. We can come back and have a whole discussion about some of those. And then maintaining healthy connections, right? Our social self-care. So we talked about physical, mental, and emotional, and then our social self-care. We are built for connection. And I'm going to keep saying that. We are built for connection. There are times when we don't do that, and for some certain reasons in our lives and in our experiences, we say to ourselves, "Oh, I'm a loner." But that's not how we were built. We were built for connection, and making sure that we are doing a good job of maintaining connection and building those connections. I think I'm going to walk around. Oh, let's go down this way. Is very important. Okay. Isolation increases stress and anxiety, even when you are dealing with people who you say, "Oh, they're crazy." Right, my friends are crazy, or whatever that is. There are places, there are times, even those crazy people, the connections that we have with them can be very important to our overall well-being, our self-care, and for our ultimate success. You want to strengthen those, right? So you want to prioritize time with uplifting people. So just like we are avoiding negativity, we want to build into our process. We want to build into our time the ability to connect with other people and to be in that space with them, because that allows us to build. They're positive. They speak into us, and they can support ourselves. I'm looking around because I'm walking in a busy part of this area. Okay. You want to set boundaries for draining relationships. If every time you get off the phone with that one person, you find yourself sitting eating ice cream, or oh my God, I can't get through the rest of the day because I've been drained by that person, then you want to limit the access of that person to you. You want to limit the boundaries that that person, the time that that person has access to you. Okay? So those are very important things because that helps set you up for the best possibility of success. And then you want to find a community that supports your goals. There's nothing like being in a space where the people there understand you. In my community, there are a bunch of folks that we talk to, and when we are having a conversation, we don't have to explain a whole lot, right? I mean, sometimes we go through and we are explaining things, but simply saying, hey, this happened to me this week, the people in the community automatically understand, because guess what? It's a community of like-minded people. When I'm in my office and I'm talking to patients or I'm talking to clients, they'll say to me, why is it that other people may not understand what I'm telling them or understand what just happened to me? And why is it that you understand? And I say to them, because I've been there. I've done it. Maybe I did it this morning, or I'm thinking about it right now. Okay? So the community is not necessarily a group of people that have gotten it all together, but we are, the community is someplace that supports you, that lets you know that you're not by yourself. And that is that's priceless, right? So make sure that you are, that you're supporting yourself, that you're doing community. And okay, here we go. So I'm walking around in the shopping center, so once again, trying to avoid people. And then rest and play. So this one of the self-care, people will journal, people will deal with their mindfulness, they'll walk, they'll go exercise, but rest and play, they think that's a waste of time, right? Oh, I can do all the other stuff you said, I can do all the other stuff in my self-care routine, but rest and play, that just is a waste of time. You cannot be consistent if you never recharge, if you never give yourself the opportunity to replenish, okay? So this is, we engage in hobbies. I talk about that a lot. Let's go this way because it's taking a minute for those cars to go by. So rest and play. So hobbies, do you have hobbies? When I talk to people who are buffering, and buffering is the behavior that we do that helps us avoid the pain, the loneliness, the whatever it is that is building up in us. To prevent people from buffering, the people who are buffering are those who, they don't have anything to do. They're at the house and they're watching TV. They may be single, they may be in a relationship, but everybody's doing their thing and they feel lonely. They're not distracted. And so getting a hobby is a great way of resting and playing. Schedule downtime before burnouts. So I'm going to have, a half an hour at the end of my day. I'm going to have 20 minutes during my day. I'm going to have a certain amount of time. I've got some friends who we're going to play chess. We're going to just talk with each other. Whatever that is, you want to have a community, and you want to spend some time connecting with them, and scheduling downtime before you get to burnout. And then unplug from work and screen regularly. Unplug from work. Now I am guilty of this one because sometimes it seems like I'm always at work, right? Because I'm on call for our practice. I see patients in the office. I see patients at the hospital. During the day, I'm on call at the hospital. When I go away, often I'm on call. We don't get lots of calls when I'm away, but I'm on call. And so when a call comes in, guess what? I get to take that. And it's sometimes people who need questions, they have questions about their medication or some advice they need or something they need from the office. And often it's not a big issue. Sometimes I have to direct people to an urgent care or to an ER. Sometimes I need to call medications in or have one of my team do something if I'm not in the office. But it seems like I'm always going. And sometimes I've got to just simply say I've got to unplug, right? I'm going to be gone for these next 12 hours. I'm going to be gone for this hour. One of the great things that happens to me is that I have people who cover me at the hospital. So I'm not on call every night at the hospital. There are people who take call and they're covering those hospital shifts where I get to spend some time with the family on a weekend, on a trip, maybe, but unplugging, so that if you're not able to get away, I'm walking down here. If I'm not able to get away, then it feels like I'm doing something every moment of the day. And that is not healthy, and it does not set me up for the best possibility of success, and it doesn't give me the best self-care, okay? So unplug, and then unplug from the screen. Last night, I came home, and I have one night where I don't have anything scheduled, I don't have any videos scheduled, I don't schedule any meetings, and that's my son's night. And I go into his room. I went into his room last night. Of course, he tried to kick me out. And went into his room and laid down on his new. He just redesigned his room, and he said, he's like, "You're getting lint on my carpet." I was like, "Dude." And I did no screen time. So separated from the video, separated from the phone, separated from all the things that we do. That's important. You've got to be able to unplug from screen time if you're going to be successful. Okay. All right. And I'm coming up on another busy street. Let me see if I can. No, it doesn't look like I'll be able to get across before they change. Well, that's okay. We're coming back. All right. And I've got to pay attention. Okay. So how do we build? Should I go down this way? Ah, there it is. Okay. I'm going to walk across. Let's run, let's run, let's run. People are waiting. There we go. Thank you. And that was not walking across the light. There was a car moving. And I think they didn't realize that the light has changed for me. Okay. How do we build a self-care routine that works? How do we build a self-care routine that works? Number one, we want to make it realistic. Once again, we can set up grandiose, huge, complicated systems. But if it's complicated and it doesn't fit your lifestyle, then it's not going to happen. So you want to start small and then build from there. A streamlined self-care program doesn't have to be 10 hours. It doesn't have to be 5 pages long. It just has to be consistent. So starting small, I'm going to take 5 minutes. Like today I was talking to someone in the office and I was telling them 5 minutes of time that you separate from whatever's doing. 2 minutes from your time to just take a break, to get a breather. Once again, it's kind of like blowing up a balloon. And if you keep blowing that balloon little by little by little, after a while it's going to burst. But if you take just a moment to let some of that steam out, to let some of that pressure out, then that sets you up for best possibility of success, right? So instead of aiming for an hour-long morning routine, once again, just aim for 5 minutes, aim for 10 minutes. If you're going to exercise, instead of trying to exercise for an hour, how about walking down to the driveway? How about walking around the block? Right? All those things are simple and they are doable and they set you up for the best possibility of success. Then schedule self-care like an appointment. Make it simple, start small, and then schedule it. If it's not on your calendar, the likelihood of it happening goes down. If it's not written, if it's just something that's in your head, then you can, other things will come up and they will displace your self-care routine. So put it on the calendar, block it in your phone, put a message on the door, on the refrigerator, set an alarm, right? All those things, whatever you need to do so that you understand that this is a priority. Because if you don't make it a priority, then it will not be a priority, and you will find that it does not happen. And then you have to listen to your body and listen to your mind. Listen to your body and listen to your mind. There are times when you've set up a self-care routine and your time for your break is not going to be for another hour. But your body says right now, yeah, we need to take a break. We can't keep going like this. And you've got to listen and say, okay, I know that I'm not scheduled for this for another hour, but right now I need to do something. I need to rejuvenate. I need to set myself up for success. And so I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna take a break. I'm going into my office. I'm going to go to the bathroom, whatever it needs to be, so that that happens, right? You want to listen to your body. If your heart rate's going up, if you feel stress, if you feel tension, if your stomach is twirling, if you are unable to concentrate, if your problem solving is dropping, all of those are signs that you need to unplug for a minute and take a break. Okay? So listen to your body. And then track your energy levels. Track your energy levels. So we are best at certain times of the day. We are best at certain periods. Begin looking at yourself and saying, okay, when am I at my peak? And then you can schedule things for those times. Or you can begin anticipating that, okay, my energy level is starting to go down, will start to go down. I need to rejuvenate. I need to, whatever you need to do to be successful there. So journal for a week so that you can find when your best time is. And the wind is starting to pick up here in a little bit. I think it's supposed to start raining soon. So it's cool, it's darker, and it's windy. All right, so remember, we are trying to do the best job we can to be successful. And we can't ever end without having a challenge. So are you ready? The first step, of course, is always to get your journal. And number one, what we're doing is we're creating a self-care routine, right, that we can sustain. So number one, assess your current self-care routine. What am I currently doing? Is it working? Okay. What are you already doing well? We're going to enhance those. What do I need to remove? And where do I need to more balance? What do I need to add? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to pivot or change? And then choose one habit to prioritize this week. Will it be better sleep, more movement, mindfulness, whatever it is? Pick one and begin incorporating it this week. Not next week, but this week, right? Remember, you want to give action to the things that we're learning. And then schedule it on your calendar, right? Schedule it, set it there, and don't let anything get in there. You want to prioritize it, and you want it to be of importance so that you continue to do that. Remember, we're building a vision of ourselves. We're building a consistent version of ourselves. All right. So I'm glad you're here. Always glad when you come see me, when I get to hang out with you in this space. Let me move around this way so you get a view of the back there. We are on day 71, and we're coming back, continuing to build a better, more consistent version of ourselves. Remember, consistency is your superpower. Every day you show up, you are putting another piece to that puzzle that builds you up for success. Thank you for joining me. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And we're living a limitless life. We'll see you tomorrow on day number 72.